Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Faith and Fury, the two-player starter set for Kings of War Champions from Mantic Games. If I flip it over, ooh, we get a bit of a blurb on the back. The righteous Alanis Sallustis and their brave Basileans take on the wicked Bloody Cardinal and his demonic minions. 41 miniatures, gaming mat tokens, everything you need to play. Champions, the rank and flank game of heroic, fast-paced fantasy skirmishes where legends are forged in battle. Interesting thing about this for me is it's not really a starter set because everything in there is complete. There is no subsequent buy-ins needed. So let's have a look at this. Okay, so inside the box then, it is absolutely packed full. We have hard plastic sprues. Some are loose. Some are bagged. The bags look like they are the regular infantry. We get 2 bags of resin, which are the heroes / champions of the piece. Set of D6 to play the game. MDF bases. The game plays on footprints, not individuals. And then we also get books, cards, and tokens. Right, let's take a closer look. We'll start with the paper and work our way up to the plastic. Okay, so starting things off then with the book. Kings of War Champions, legends are forged in battle. So what is Kings of War Champions? Essentially, it's a 2-player game with preset lists which are defined by the champion that leads them. It has the same footprint and basic rules as Kings of War, but there's none of the list building. The aim of the game is to get the best out of a fixed list with some modifications. So there's a bit about the game itself. Your gaming area plays on a 42 by 24 inch mat. There is one included in the box. We'll have a look at it in a moment. Tokens and terrain and D6, just how to play the game. If you're unfamiliar with multi-based games, there's no figure removal. A base takes damage or stress or whatever it happens to be until it reaches a certain limit, and then the whole base is removed. So it means the big wooden bases are the complete base for what you're playing on. And it means you can also do things like diorama type scenic bases if you so desire. The stat cards come with the game for each of the units. So each side will have a champion plus 3 units. And then here's your breakdown of what the unit types are and their characteristics. So the first chunk of our book is about how you play. It is, like I say, very similar to Kings of War, but it has actually taken out some rules. So if you've never played Kings of War before, this is slightly easier to learn. If you have played Kings of War, then you'll find it's a simplified version. You don't have to worry about things like height on your figures. So the first chunk of the book is about how you play, which is relatively straightforward. You've got a movement phase, then a shooting phase, and then a melee phase. And that's, I believe this is I go, you go actually, rather than, which is standard Kings of War. I'm actually going to go back and double check because I kept skipping over that part. The attacker goes through and then the defender. Yeah, so it is I go, you go. Same as Kings in that regard. There are a selection of scenarios, 6 in here currently, and you get the layout for those where your objective tokens have to go and the victory conditions behind such. That's a nice looking cover. Somebody from the Trident Realms is about to get mullered by a succubus. Sucks to be them. So half the book is your rules, how to get playing, and then the back half is actually the background. A bit about the world of Panathor, what's happening, who the forces of good are, the forces of evil, the forces of neutrality, the people who won't pick a side or alternatively will play for both sides. And then here we have our dramatis personae, the champions, the titular champions. And the thing about this game is it is about the champions. Kings of War has got living legends and named characters in it, but mostly when you're playing, you've got a lot of nameless heroes. This is more narrative. So each of the 9 factions that are either available or coming are led by a champion, and the warband, the retinue for them, is specific to them, what they're doing. So this section tells you all about not just the 2 that are in the Faith and Fury box here, but actually all of the champions, and they're all told in a slightly different way, in keeping with the hero in question, which is really nice. So it's a comprehensive start. There's the potential to add, and I think Ronnie has mentioned that they're talking about they may go back and add a different champion for a faction in the future with their own retinue, and it might be slightly different, or well, it will be different to what's currently available. So they can expand these, but you've got a very compact 9 force or 9 faction boxes, champion boxes available, and then that's you done, because there is none of that list building. So that's quite nice. Onto the game components then. We have our gaming mat. This is the requisite 42 by 24. It's a satin finish and relatively thick as well, which is good. It is also double-sided. So you have ice fields on one side, lovely greenery on the other. If you haven't got a mat to play on, then you do now, and this will fit on your gaming table or your table if you're just playing in the kitchen. So, nice resolution. There's a frozen city / fortress on this. Good hard-wearing piece of paper mat as well. And then we also have 2 sheets of tokens on 3mm card, so nice durable pieces. These have got a gloss finish more than satin, so they should be hard-wearing. And this one's upside down. Well, it's not upside down to everything. Some of it is. I'll turn it around. How about that? So we have 3 wall sections, which are 6 inches long by 1 inch wide. Perfect for gameplay. Then we have a foresty part and a rocky part. And because the mat is double-sided, so are they. So you can play your snow or your greenery. And then we have measurement stick, arc markers. So you've got your 45-degree for your line of sight at the front. A little marker for marking your base position in case you want to check ranges or something, so you know where it was. And then the objective tokens here, these are for wounds. You've got victory points, so you can count those up as the game plays and see how things go. And then we have our little champions markers here for them to spend every turn, which is an intrinsic part of the game. Then we also have our champion cards along with the faction orders. We'll take a look at those with the actual models when I've got them built so that we can see what I'm talking about. And last but by no means least, there's two little assembly guides. So the Bloody Cardinal shows you how to make the Macabre Missionaries, the Slithering Bishop, and the Cackling Choir. So they're all named. Very basic instructions, just colour coded. I suppose showing you individual components. Likewise here, we also have that, and at the bottom it tells you what base size they're going to go on out of those wooden bases. So I know in the past people have complained that Mantic haven't provided assembly instructions. I've always maintained if you know what a leg and an arm is, you shouldn't really need assembly instructions. With them you kind of do though. Let's move on to the plastics and I'll explain. Okay, so starting off with the Basilean men-at-arms. So you get 4 bags of these. Each bag contains 5 figures. As you can see here, legs and torsos are one piece. Some nice detail on the armour. So chain with plate over the top and a lot of filigree on the plate itself. And then tabards around those. A set of shields, which are connected to the hand at the top and a slight ball connection point at the back. And then you get a second sprue in that bag, which has all of your weapons. So we have a selection of arms here, and you can see there are reference points for those connections for your shields. We have a set of 4 spears down here, some swords, which you don't really need for this. We have some crossbow pieces, another crossbow piece here, some more crossbows, and then a few arms that look sort of helter-skelter here and there. There's also a set of 5 quivers for your quarrels. Now, if I bring this in, head on the body, fine. Arms on, okay, that's all right, except that crossbow is actually this front half of this crossbow plus this arm here. So it's not showing all of the breakdown for the pieces, which isn't the worst in the world, but you will have to take some time and look over the sprue. So what I'm going to do is very quickly mark some things off. I don't know why, but there are 6 shield arms, so those are all for shields. So we don't need to worry too much about those right now. But crossbow wise, crossbow with a hand underneath it attaches to this long arm here. Crossbow with a hand underneath it there attaches to the other one. So essentially you've got 2 holding the crossbow, and they pair up with these 2 arms that are loading a bolt in. So arm, hand, paired arm, hand, paired arm. Then up at the top of the sprue, we have these 2 arms that are folded over, and they match this and this. So it's got a hand holding the pistol grip back here, but doesn't have the butt of the crossbow stock, because the butt of the stock is nestled in the shoulder here. So that plus your front plus one of these 2 arms gives you a firing crossbow. So they're a bit spread out, and there's no markings on the sprue. If you happen to be doing the spears, most of the spears are one piece, with the exception of this arm and this arm, which are used for this and this. So they're thrusting forward. So these 2 spears and these 2 arms go together. Other than that, that's you pretty much done. So it's just a little complicated, especially if this is your first box, because it doesn't go into all the individual pieces. Likewise, for the Guardians of Tariosos, it doesn't show the multi-part spears being assembled. It does show the pieces on the arm there. What would help is these pink body, green arm, pink shield. If they had a picture of the sprue and had these coloured in pink, green, yellow, whatever. So you go, oh, that one and this one and that one are all together. That's my 2 cents. But there you go. So that is our men-at-arms. Then there's also a set of cavalry. This is the new Basilean Paladin Knights. And in this case, they are Neas's Lions. And this is one of the more modern releases. In fact, I think it may be the most up-to-date release. So, as you can see, if I flip this round, this is generic horses. All the pieces are numbered and lettered. So we have body A1 and then you have body A2 here. So they're not always together, but they are marked with little arrows indicating the direction of travel. Get 5 on the sprue. No heads, they come separately. In fact, they come attached in a little sub sprue here. So if we look at those, we have a set of heads, a set of armor plates, and then pairs of plates. And again, they're all numbered and lettered. So A5 and A6 down here. Then we have head D3 in the middle, head B3 here with a crest on it. So when you're building your horses, clip off all the A parts, then come over here and clip off A head, A armor pieces, and A chest plate, which is that one there, I think. They do look like they would match, but there's ever so slight differences in the horse position, so I'm not sure that they would match perfectly. Likewise for our bodies, legs and torsos are all one piece again. Cloak at the back, all have a little paladin book of prayer on a chain. And then individualized shields and lances. And again, it's all monopose builds, but 5 unique builds within there. The only thing being the heads, which are all labeled 7. And there are actually more heads than you need for the bodies in here. So you can mix and match the heads to your heart's content. Don't try mixing and matching anything else. I think the shields are probably interchangeable as well. But there you go. The final thing for Alanis's force is Alanis herself, which is actually Mantic's mastercrafted resin. Say so on the base. This is a resin I've started to see more of recently from a couple of companies, and it is absolutely superb. In both the detail on it, which you would get in resin anyway, but also in the lack of flashing and the like. It's one of the cleanest resins I've seen. And Mantic's resin was often right up there anyway. So a couple of pieces. There is a sprue gate to be removed there for the legs to go onto the torso, and then likewise a sprue gate at the back of the arm just to allow you to key that piece in. And comes on a little base with a couple of recessed parts for the pegs on her feet. So cleanup's going to be minimal. It's that 4 sprue gates, pretty much 1 per piece that's been cast, including the base, and then just put them together. I can't really see anything in the way of slippage or large seam lines. There potentially are small seam lines. I would be very surprised if there weren't. But that is all of that. Right, let's take a look at the Bloody Cardinal's forces. Okay, for the Abyssals, we start off with 2 bags of these for the Crackling Choir. Again, 5 bodies per sprue or per set. So you just get the 10 of these in total. As far as build goes, there's 2 sets of arms on here, because in the larger Kings of War game, they can also be used to throw firebolts. Hence these flaming hands, which you can use for a bit of change if you want. But really this set should be rocking the hand weapons. So we have things like, there's a scythe, there's a drummer here, we've got a standard and a 2-handed weapon, a couple of little imps to decorate the base down here, and a variety of heads strewn across the sprue. So simple build, head on, arms on, that's it. The only weird thing will be, if you're wondering what these are, they are very large spines that can be put onto the shoulders of your champion leading the unit, or you can leave them off, it's up to you. There's also a set of 5 shields up here, which have got some nice texture on the back and some little grips to make gluing them on a bit easier. So that's the Cackling Choir. Then we have the Bishop. Again, another one of the newer kits from Poland. This is a one model unit, the massive snaky slithering thing. So we've got 2 parts of the body, upper body here, and then centaur-like demonic top. There's a few different arms. They are all numbered here, so you can pick between them if you want. What I will say is this one is the one that's suggested. Fine, go ahead, use them. But you will see this is arm 13. This is arm 12. This is arm 14. I believe 15 is actually the arm that matches 13, and 12 matches 14. And then this 10 possibly doesn't have his secondary arm here, because this is 1 sprue out of a multi-part kit. So what they've done is they've gone, this one will make a complete figure with some extra bits. All the heads are interchangeable. Like I say, you may be able to do the arms. You'll just have a little bit of footering to work out which is which. And then we finally have our Macabre missionaries. Again, big sprue, complete. And again, lettered, numbered. So you've got bodies A, B, and C, and requisite arms to go with, along with heads, which are again numbered to match the bodies, but I think you can change these without too much hassle. In most cases, it's just going to be attach 1 leg and then pick arms. And there are some variation in the arms because you have choices. So there's a punch dagger, there's a big bone whip, and then there's also this sort of slight dagger, all for the same body A. So you can mix and match to stop some repetition in there if you want. It's entirely up to you. And last, but by no means least, we also have the bag of resin for the Bloody Cardinal. And he's a stonking boy. So, start off with a big 50mm base, being lifted out of the ground by demonic, undead, trapped souls, servitors, whatever you want to call them. Very Dante's Inferno. I approve. We have our big fat body. Sprue gate there. Slight seam line just in the shoulder. And slight seam line at the back of the torso there. Although I think a buff with some wire wool would take that out more than anything else. And then we have our hammer and corresponding arm, all keyed to go together very neatly. And a terrific level of detail on these again. So let's get them all built up and we'll see what the final thing looks like. Okay, so Naeus's lines, done and dusted. Important thing to note, you don't have to put all of the models on the base. I have. Some people prefer to put on less so they've got more room to do some modelling. But it's entirely up to you. They went together fairly straightforwardly. What I will say is obviously you don't have to put on the armour. So here I've left off the sort of side pieces, and on these ones I've included them. They are interchangeable. There's nothing to stop you swapping these side pieces around to your heart's content. Everything else though you have to pretty much build as is. But a really nice kit and a brutal looking unit of paladins coming your way. In game terms, if I pop in their card, boosh, we can see here base size, the type is core, speed 6, so 6 inches, heading on 3 or more on your d6, no shoot value, defense of 5+ for your opponent to injure them, unit strength of 2 for claiming objectives, attacks 8, so they've got 8 dice when they're charging, and nerve of 16+, so that's how much damage that your opponent needs to put on them to get rid of them. And then the cards also have some special rules, so things like crushing strength and elite with what they do. So everything you need to play the game is on this. The rulebook is just the rulebook, and then it tells you a bit about the unit in question on the reverse. If you've not played sort of rank and file games before, to point out these little doohickeys. So generally you've got a 90-degree front arc, so that shows how far to one side your unit can see, and if they need to see from the other side, you just go to there. So if anything's behind that, they'll be in the flank, or if I pop that there, you can see, so that's the flank of this unit is relatively narrow, but you never want to be hit in the flank, and you definitely never want to be hit in the rear. Bad things happen if somebody comes at you from behind. And then also there's the little moving widget, which is quite cute. You tuck it in there. If you want to see whether or not you can charge a unit, then you can go and do your measuring, go off, make a turn, go off, realize you can't make it, and then bring them back to where they were, and then remove that. So they end up back where they started. Just thought I'd mention those because they're a bit unusual. Tokens, objectives, and wound markers everybody knows, but if you don't do rank and file, you might not be aware of them. Next up, the Watchman of Tarissos. Now, with the Watchman, because you've got 2 bags of Watchmen and 2 bags of the Guardians, the Spearmen, that meant I had extra spears on the Watchman frame and extra crossbows on the spear frame. So to that end, I went for a full front rank firing and a full back rank reloading, and didn't bother using any of those sort of at the ready crossbows. Build is very simple for these. Like I say, once you know where you're getting those crossbow parts from, you can put them together in quick fashion. They make a very nice looking unit. In game terms, they're terrible in melee, so they only hit on 6s. They do have a 50-50 on shooting, but most things are 50-50. And their defense is 4, so not well defended, but they should be firing at range. They've still got the same amount of attacks as the knights do. And a couple of special rules about their firing. And finally, the Guardians themselves. And again, just use the fact that there are additional spear, so I just didn't bother using any of the full thrusting. Just had the front rank at 45 and the back rank at 90 degrees. To give them that sort of phalanx spear look to them. I really like the men-at-arms for the Basileans. They only have the one special rule, the poor people. They are elite in melee, and they've got a very similar stat line to the crossbowmen. Slightly better at attacking though, because they've got an additional rank of people poking forward with sticks, which is nice to have. So those are all the plastic parts. We have our hero herself though. So Alanis Sallustis. And here she is in all her glory. Absolutely gorgeous piece of work. Came together really nicely with about... It took longer to wash it because it's resin. It always goes into a hot soapy water bath with an old toothbrush. Give it a scrub. And then it took longer to do that and dry it than it did to clean it up to assemble it. So really nice. I like the textured base, the old runes that she's striding over. Ready to give somebody a bopping. Despite being a little base all of her own, she is comparable to some of the others. She's got a nerve almost as high as the knights. 5 attacks, defensive 5+, and a melee of 3+. So slower, better at fighting, good defense, decent attacks. Has a host of special rules, including the champion rule. So, and this is what the game's about. So your champions are there to lead and inspire. Friendly units within 6 inches regain 1 point of damage previously suffered when they pass a nerve test. So if she stays behind the lines encouraging them, your opponent will do some damage and then have to do the same damage again as they slowly re-heal. So that's one thing that your champion will do. The other thing is the faction orders. So these are the little tokens from the sprue. And every turn in the champion phase at the start, you will allocate these to a unit upside down, so your opponent won't know what unit has been given what. And you can see here the unit strength is increased by +2 to the end of the round, so it helps them score objectives. The unit's defense is increased by +1 until the end of the round, so all of a sudden those knights become very difficult to remove, or the bowmen become as tough as knights. Or Holy Strike this unit. If they're targeted in a melee attack, before the attack is resolved, roll a d6 on a 5+, 1 point of damage is caused to the enemy unit instead. So just a little spiteful attack against an opponent who's hitting you. And this is the sort of the core of the game. The base is your Kings of War, but then it's how you use your champion and their champion abilities to the most effect during the game, which can be very quick scoring and high scoring, as both sides are constantly pushing for the objectives tither and yon. Right, let's take a look at the Bloody Cardinals mob. Okay, so the cackling choir are done and dusted. Same amount of figures on this base as there is for the Basileans, but they're a bit chunkier and so are a bit more feral, don't have the ranked look as you sort of play around to get them all sort of fitted in there. Like I say, you don't have to put all 10 on, so if this looks too busy or you're struggling to get 10 on, put on 8. The base is the important thing, and that your opponent knows what's coming their way. In fact, My back rankers don't have shields, just to make my life easier. It matters not a jot in game terms. And if I wanted to, I wouldn't have had to put the shields on the front either. But there you go. Really nice little set of demonic feated peoples. The Cackling Choir then. In game terms, melee is 5+, so they sit somewhere between the Basilean men-at-arms. Not as good as the spear, better than the bowman. But they do have a comparative 4+ defense. They do have 12 attacks, so quite vicious with a nerve of 13. But they also have regeneration, which means when they're given a movement order, whether it's moving, charging, or just advancing towards an objective, you can roll for the damage on the unit. And then any dice that come up of 5 or 6 removes 1 point of damage as they sort of re-heal themselves, for they are not of this world. Next up, the Macabre Missionaries. These are big boys, demons what have grown up. In fact, you can see just how much they've grown up in comparison to their little brothers. Almost double the size. Big brutes. These 2 arms are actually from 2 different models, so that is the correct arm for this body. That is not. However, it fitted nevertheless. So there is some play with how you assemble these. You may just need to dry fit to make sure that the arm in question will fit the body, because they're not completely flat shoulder joints. There's a slight bow in the body and a concave convex sort of setup, so the arm has a concave recess to align in a specific way. But overall, you know, they are nasty looking people. And rules-wise, they are quick enough, speed of 6 with a melee of 4, defense of 4. So they are just bigger versions of the lesser Abyssals. 10 attacks rather than 12. But they also have regenerate and crush. So comparative unit, just a bit bigger, a bit more likely to make your opponent worry about them coming their way. So somebody to watch out for. The final Abyssal plastic, and probably my favourite, the Slithering Bishop. Big fellow. A massive snake centaur thing. Lovely detail on it, from scales to armour to big mask. Pop him that way round. He can slither past. In game, he has a better regeneration than the others, so he regenerates on a 4, 5 or 6 rather than on a 5 or 6. So he's going to stick around for a while. He also has a better melee score. So melee of 3 up, only 8 attacks. So less attacks but hits more often. He's listed as support as well, which is nice. Presumably there will be some more information about the different troop types in the book en masse. But the most interesting thing about him is, unlike the others who are landscaped, his base is portrait, which means you have the potential for him and another unit to go in side by side into an opponent. Ordinarily, you'll find if one unit is matching up against another, they're going to cover a lot of the base, especially if they've been there for a round already. So he can get into some nooks and crannies and cause issues. And finally, we have the Bloody Cardinal himself, who's bloody amazing. Absolutely adore this figure. He's a brute. I'm impressed they've managed to lift that ground up. So, huge figure. Have a bit of cleanup still to do on him. A little bit of flash here and there. That just needs a quick buff with some wire wool to remove it. But, in game terms, he has also a speed of 4, comparable to Alanis. melee of 3+, defensive 4+, 6 attacks and nerve of 13, so slightly better attacking, slightly worse defense. However, he's got crushing strength of 2, which helps do damage, inspires friendly units, has life leech, unlike the others who regenerate damage, or have the potential to regenerate damage when they move. He automatically regenerates damage whenever he hits somebody in melee combat. And his champion rule is Feast or Famine. While within 9 inches of this unit, enemy units suffer -1 to their nerve stat. So he's much more likely to make opponents run away when they see him stomping towards them. And his faction orders are Battle Rage. So when the order is revealed, the unit may make an immediate... when this order is revealed, this unit may immediately take 1 point of damage in order to gain 1 attack for the subsequent round. You don't take nerve rolls for taking damage on yourself like that. Blessed by the Abyss, the unit may re-roll natural rolls of 1 when rolling for regeneration. So that unit that's got a ton of damage on it, much more likely to heal all the way back to normal. And Vile Violence. Until the end of the round, whenever this unit rolls damage, when making melee attack, it must re-roll all dice that score natural unmodified 1. So, that's horrendous. Yes. Giving them an elite ability will help them out no end, I feel. So there we go. The Bloody Cardinal. And his opponent. It hardly seems fair. But then she is from Basilean, so chances are he's about to get absolutely lamped out of the place. So there you go, a game in a box, complete. I know it says starter set, but really it's not a starter set. It is a complete game. There is nothing you can add to those armies. They are 100% complete, as in the box. So sometimes you get a starter set and you're going, well, you can add X, Y, and Z to this. You never have to add anything to that. It's literally got every token. It's got the mats. It's got both full armies. And it will give you a great basis for rank and file gaming that you can play in a quick fashion on a small area. So it's a fantastic way of getting people into rank and file without worrying about the size of the board that you need to play on, the amount of terrain you need, how many figures go into an army, all the list building, all of that. This is a one-stop shop. And if you enjoy it, you can pick up other champions boxes with their warbands, and they are complete as well. The rulebook has the rules and all of the background for them, which is great. I like the lore, I like the backstory, I like how the world is a living world and has continued to expand, and things that have affected the ogres, for example, in the past from previous global campaigns are now being continued with. So the havoc that wrought 8-9 years ago, whatever it was, is now inflicting itself on the world once again, because ogres have grown up. They don't like what happened to them when they were kids, and now they've got a point to prove. So it really adds a lot of flavour to the warbands, and the fact that the champions themselves are more than just a hero. They've got a background, they've got a story, and they've got a style of play that relies on your divvying up those command orders. It's a really great way of getting into the game. But let me know what you think below. I'm going to get them painted, and then we'll get them on the table in the not too distant future, and we'll see exactly how they all come across. Until next time, bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe, and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.